Democrats in Congress passed the final version of a $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill, as well as a bill that would strengthen unions, both of which would deliver huge benefits to the poor and working class. But the GOP and Fox News have been much more focused on Looney Tunes and the royal family. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. Millions of Americans are currently in crisis thanks to the pandemic and economic crash, with poverty and food scarcity on the rise and millions losing their health insurance. And yet nearly the entirety of the right-wing media apparatus has been laser-focused on Dr. Seuss, the Muppets, the Looney Tunes, and Joe Biden's dog.
Even today, we heard about Biden's dog biting someone. Can you imagine if President Trump had a dog at the White House and it bit someone? The press would go crazy. They'd say this dog is working with Russia and we got to have an investigation.
Forget that. I can't imagine Trump having a dog, period. Like, if I close my eyes, my brain won't do it. Trump's the guy that every dog barks at because they can't see anything behind his eyes, and they must think this is some kind of reanimated corpse or a mannequin or something, so they try to warn their owners. Now, if Trump had a dog that bit someone, do I think the Lincoln Project would have made a crappy meme that your aunt sent around? I do. But let's remember, while Donald Trump didn't have a real dog, he had plenty of metaphorical ones, including his lapdog, Lindsey Graham, his junkyard dog, Steve Bannon. And if you don't think Don Jr. has a group of friends that call each other the dog pound, well, I don't know what to tell you, pal. His lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, is such an attack dog, he had to pass the bar exam and bark exam. Whoa. I didn't think it was that bad, fellas. And if somehow Trump did have a dog that was a Russian spy, Trump still would have been too dumb to notice. This is my dog, Petrov. Gift from Vladimir. Hates tennis balls. Loves secret files. Makes the cutest clicking sounds. Again, not a Photoshop. But yeah, it's true. Joe Biden's dogs were sent back to Delaware after one of them, Major Biden, engaged in aggressive behavior. And I don't know the specifics of what happened, but since he's a Biden dog, I'm betting he was at a dive bar late at night in Scranton, knocking back a few cold ones after a tough day at the plant when a local drunk started hassling a lady at the bar. So Major decided to intervene. Hey, leave that lady alone. And the drunk guy was like, screw off, old man dog. And Major was like, see this scar? I got this in Nam. You don't want a piece of me. And then the drunk guy was like, you. And Major bit him. Anyway, the point is, this is the kind of thing the right is focused on right now. But don't worry, it's not just Dr. Seuss and Joe Biden's dog. They're also obsessing over children's toys and cartoons.
Well, first it was Mr. Potato Head and Mrs. Potato Head. Now it's Dr. Seuss.
They want to cancel the Muppets. They want to cancel Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head.
You see, last week they tried to cancel Kermit the Frog and Mr. Potato Head. You see that?
Look out, Mr. Potato Head. You're next.
This week alone, they canceled Mr. Potato Head. This week alone, they canceled the Muppets. They're canceling Dr. Seuss.
First, they outlawed Dr. Seuss, and now they want to tell us what to say.
Cancel culture takes on cartoons. Yes, Pepe Le Pew will not be featured in the upcoming Space Jam 2 movie. Bugs Bunny better watch out. They're coming for him.
Who gets to decide these things for us? You know, you've got Pepe Le Pew now.
Pepe Le Pew now has a bad reputation and therefore has to be cut out.
Personally, I can't believe Fox News is defending someone who's French. If this was 2003, they'd be referring to him as a freedom skunk. For those of you too young to remember, that was a joke referencing a period of time when conservatives canceled French fries. In fairness, this outrage might just be because Fox News has lost so many advertisers that their last major sponsor is the Acme Corporation. That's why Hannity tied himself to that rocket last night. I guess my Anvil boycott is back on. You know what, Fox News? If you really want to defend a Looney Tunes character, how about the sadistic psychopath known as the Roadrunner? That guy's Jigsaw and Hannibal Lecter rolled into one. You know how many times he tried to kill a coyote just for fun? This ass so barbaric, he tricked someone into walking off a cliff and falling into a ravine. Not just once, but hundreds of times. If they made a Roadrunner movie, it'd have to be played by Michael Shannon. Beep, beep, ass. Why don't you sweep yourself into a dustpan while I go have sex with your wife? Pretty bad, Michael Shannon. Seriously, imagine being an actual adult and spending any amount of time at all complaining about a decades-old cartoon character being left out of a movie. You think I haven't been cut out of movies? Oh, I've been cut out of movies, friend. I had a part in Training Day. Remember when Denzel gives that big speech where he screams, King Kong ain't got nothing on me? Well, after the speech, it was supposed to cut to me saying this, King Kong And then I go to the premiere, bring my whole family. That scene comes on, nothing. I was devastated. Marched up to Denzel at the after party and say, hey, what gives? He tells me it took people out of the scene. And I said, well, you just took people out of the theaters because no one's going to pay to see that turd. Anyway, movie smash hit. He wins an Oscar, and that's probably why he's never been on the show. Point is, guys, there's a pandemic raging, millions suffering or out of work, and you're spending your time defending the Looney Tunes. The whole thing is just, well, I want to say Looney Tunes, but that seems redundant. The whole thing's Mickey Mouse. The Republican Party and conservative movement have turned entirely to nonsense culture war BS because they have nothing else to talk about. They don't have a convincing criticism of the Democrats' massive COVID relief bill because it's overwhelmingly popular, even with their own voters. 75% of Americans and 59% of Republicans said in a new poll that they support the bill. So remember that when people complain it's a partisan bill, they're only referring to elected Republican officials not voting for it. It's popular among voters from both parties. It's a historic achievement that will, among other things, fund vaccinations, send thousands of dollars directly to the vast majority of American families, and cut child poverty in half. The GOP and Fox News can't criticize it, so they'd rather not tell their voters about it at all, which is why a new poll out today found that Republican voters were more likely to hear a lot about Dr. Seuss than any other story in the news, including the COVID bill. Great, so one of our major political coalitions is concerned mostly with the deadly disease rampaging the country and the ensuing economic crash, and the other political coalition cares mostly about a minor Dr. Seuss book called McElligot's Pool, which, along with the Cat's Quizzer, haven't sold in years anyway, according to the New York Times. And I have to say, as someone who has read many Dr. Seuss books to my kids myself, I don't know who this McElligott is, and I don't care much about his pool. Let me guess, it's got a bunch of weird animals in it with made-up names that just happen to rhyme. Pretty handy. Fox News and the GOP can turn literally anything into a culture war. For example, the same channel that proudly championed right-wing rallies where so-called Tea Party patriots wore tricorn hats and waved "Don't Tread on Me" flags is now taking the side of the British royal family and anyone who defends them.
Is America's cancel culture crossing the pond? Are we to blame? Are we responsible for the wokeness that's now overseas?
I'm afraid there seems to be an element of that. And now we see the example of Piers Morgan simply saying something that a lot of people in Britain think, like a lot of people around the world, which is that Meghan Markle was at the very least exaggerating, most likely just lying in a range of things she said in her Oprah Winfrey interview. And for that, now Piers Morgan has lost his job. I never thought I'd have to defend Piers Morgan, but here we are. He's one of the hills we have to die on, it seems.
No, you don't. First of all, he didn't lose his job. He quit. He canceled himself. He literally walked off the set on live TV in front of everyone, like a real housewife of New York during a reunion show. Normally, when you see someone storm off set, it's because they're a few cocktails in and Andy Cohen just asked them a question about a fight they had with Ramona in season 3. He walked out and quit his TV job all because one of his co-hosts criticized him. That's insane. You know what any normal person would give to have a job as easy as that? In fact, if they're looking for a replacement, it doesn't even need to be a person. I hear there's a certain presidential dog who suddenly got a lot of free time on his hand. In that same Fox segment, they continued to insist that Americans should act like Morgan and the British royal family and stand up to so-called cancel culture.
He stood up for himself. Is that what's got to happen?
That's exactly what has to happen. You know, what is happening is a set of bullies with a very nasty ideology are pushing their way into everything in American life and now in British life. They've now got the monarchy having to defend itself against totally unproved charges of racism. And basically, the royal family have got to do what everyone has to do in America and elsewhere. We've got to stand up to this.
Thank God we didn't have American patriots like Brian Kilmeade during the Revolutionary War. As soon as the first redcoat showed up, he would have been like, oh, I'm glad you're here. These guys want to start their own country. Can you believe that? But I'm with you. Tea is delicious, and I do not blame you for taxing it. That's Fox's message to the poor and working class Americans they pretend to stand up for. Be more like the British royal family. Lose your job at a restaurant because of the pandemic or get laid off from a factory Trump promised to save but didn't. Do exactly what the Queen would do. Stand up for yourself by quietly nibbling a crumpet while staring out the window of your throne room and say, oh dear. Seriously, Fox, you guys pretend to be champions of the working class and you've decided to join forces with a cartoon French skunk, a well-paid TV pundit who quit his job because he doesn't like criticism, and the British royal family. Who else are you going to defend against cancel culture? Mr. Monopoly and Smog? What no one ever says about Smog, love him or hate him, he earned that gold. One Fox host was willing to move on from the British royal family.
We'll be honest, we didn't plan to talk about the British royal family tonight. We're Americans, and the idea of bringing you the details of some dispute within a decayed monarchy Well, it's a little too much like European history class. Who cares? So we're going to take a hard pass on the whole thing.
So let's fast forward, I don't know, 3 minutes later and see what he chose to talk about instead. I bet it's child poverty. No, you know what? I bet it's building wireless infrastructure in rural America. I, for one, can't wait to find out.
You're definitely not allowed to mock the oppressed Duchess. Our friend Piers Morgan did just that on television in the UK and had to resign from his job. Rich people are oppressed, period. And if you claim otherwise, they will use their total powerlessness to get you fired.
If you claim otherwise, they'll get you fired. They'll evict you from your house. They'll take away your car, your bank accounts, your water, your food. They'll blacklist you from Applebee's and embarrass you when you ask for a table for one. And you'll say, is this because I criticized Meghan Markle? And they'll say, no. It's because the last time you were here, you ordered jalapeno poppers and then stuffed them in your pockets and ran out of the restaurant until security chased you down and tased you in the parking lot. And when you called them popper coppers because you thought it was a funny joke, they didn't laugh. They arrested you because of cancel culture. And when word gets out that you got arrested at Applebee's by a bunch of popper coppers, your kids start calling you a popper pooper and everyone laughs and your wife leaves you, all because you criticized Meghan Markle. Also, once again, he didn't get fired. He walked off set and quit, all because he didn't like what someone else said. That's like me walking off the set of my show because Wally doesn't laugh at one of my jokes. Don't tempt me, Wally. You know what? That's it. I quit. I'm being canceled. Just like the British royal family and Pepe Le Pew. Wow, my wife caught wind of that immediately. Is she watching the feed? Anyway, the point is, this is what the right has chosen to focus on. As President Biden prepared to sign a historic COVID relief bill into law that sends thousands of dollars directly to families, funds vaccinations, and cuts child poverty, among many other things. And on top of that, House Democrats also passed a bill yesterday called the PRO Act that would help working-class people by strengthening unions. In fact, if they'd wanted to, the self-proclaimed champions of the working class in the GOP and the right-wing media could have focused on this part of Meghan Markle's interview.
I went to Human Resources, and I said, I need help, because in my old job there was a union, and they would protect me. And I remember this conversation like it was yesterday, because they said, my heart goes out to you because I see how bad it is, but there's nothing we can do to protect you because you're not a paid employee of the institution.
Okay, first of all, I can't believe the royal family has HR. Has Prince Andrew at least gotten like a reprimand? Do you know why you're here today, Andrew? Is it improper use of the company car? No, it's the Epstein stuff. Right. Second, think about that. The royal family, one of the richest and most powerful institutions on earth, wouldn't protect her, but her union would. That's because unions give working people the tools to protect themselves from predatory employers and the ability to collectively bargain for better wages and benefits. But they've declined in this country over the last half century, due in large part to concerted attacks from hostile corporations and the politicians those corporations support. And when the House passed the PRO Act yesterday with only a few Republican votes, Ohio Congressman Tim Ryan gave them a righteous ass-kicking.
Heaven forbid we pass something that's going to help the damn workers in the United States of America. Heaven forbid we tilt the balance that has been going in the wrong direction for 50 years. We talk about pensions, you complain. We talk about the minimum wage increase, you complain. We talk about giving them the right to organize, you complain. But if we were passing a tax cut here, you'd be all getting in line to vote yes for it. Now stop talking about Dr. Seuss and start working with us on behalf of the American workers.
Damn, you know it's a big deal when a guy whose presidential campaign merch literally said, "You don't have to yell," goes off like that. Even Bernie Sanders was like, "Whoa, Tim, keep your voice down. This is a place of business." But he's obviously right, and he should be pissed. One of our two major political coalitions would rather spend its time whining about Dr. Seuss and Looney Tunes than help poor and working Americans who are hurting. They need and deserve actual relief. Now, if Republicans had their way, instead of a union and a check, every worker would get a copy of the Cat's Quizzer and a giant catapult with a boulder in it. This is what the Republican Party and right-wing media have been reduced to. It's a movement of 24/7 cultural outrage and imagined grievances about children's books and cartoons that don't actually mean anything to working people. The COVID bill the Democrats just passed will make a major impact on the lives of actual Americans. Meanwhile, Fox News is more interested in defending the British royal family and
Pepe Le Pew.
This has been A Closer Look. God's Love We Deliver cooks and brings over 2 million meals a year to men, women, and children living with HIV, AIDS, cancer, and other serious illnesses, and they need your help now more than ever. If you're watching this online, you can hit the donate button. Stay safe, wear a mask, get vaccinated. We love you.